All right, thanks everybody for coming. For those of you that don't know us, I'm Bill Russell. This is my wife Staci. We've been running CrossFit Cleveland for about almost 13 years. And so tonight I'm just going to go real quick. As I always announce when I start to talk, I follow notes, because if I don't, I will go on all kinds of different tangents and then you'll have to reel me back in. So I'm going to be looking off of these to keep me on track. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about, we're going to go over briefly our 2020 Healthy Reset that starts in January. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, just to give you a little bit of an overview on how it differs from last year, because if you're not participating, I don't want to waste a lot of time, but we're going to have more information on this. Then we're going to talk about food prep, just basically or briefly what Staci and I do every week ourselves. We prep a lot of food. And then we're going to talk about how you can get started if you're not really good in the kitchen or you don't have a lot of time. My ideas on how I think you should start. And then I've got some prepared foods that I bought at a couple places around town, just to give you an example of what you can do, get a little bit creative, and put some variety in your life. We buy prepared meals as well as making them at home, because we get tired of eating the same thing. And so sometimes middle of the week, towards the end of the week, it's refreshing to go grab something. But it's real easy to spend a lot of money if you're not careful. So I'll talk a little bit about keeping the dollars down as well. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about, there's a third sheet that has just some basic overview of different diet plans or eating methodologies, if you will, just to give you an idea of what you might want to do if you want to start cleaning up your diet. And we'll go over just briefly this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading it all. You can read it. I'm going to be around afterwards if you want to ask any questions. I'm more than happy to answer anything I know. And Staci then is going to talk a little bit about the zone diet. That's one of the meal programs that or diet plans that we recommend. That's what we do personally. And so she's going to talk a little bit more about that. And then if you have more detailed questions, she'll be around for that. Did I forget anything? All right. Is there anything that anybody wants me to cover that I didn't say? I don't even know. That's a dangerous question to ask. All right. Again, welcome. I'm going to start out with our 2020 Healthy Reset. Last year what we did, and I really like the approach, is that we didn't tell you what you had to do to fit into our challenge. It was you pick your do's and don'ts. If you look at that first or the second line, you choose your do's and don'ts. You can be as serious or as casual or as minor as you want about making a change to have a healthier lifestyle. It might be your diet, it might be just sleep, it might be meditation, it might be anything. And so we allowed people to pick their do's and don'ts, and then we had a kind of what got to be a pretty complicated scorecard, and then we had you put your numbers or scores in a Google spreadsheet, and you know, it all looked cool, and some people liked it, but it's not necessary. Okay, if there's enough demand for that, I'll bring that back as an option. But what we're going to do is just have a little bit of a simple day-to-day scorecard. If you turn the page to the second sheet, that's our weekly scorecard. That I am committed to column, there are 5 sections, and you can just pick one. But if you want to have, we recommend, if you flip back to that first page, sorry, that pyramid that we talk about, that's our hierarchy of importance, and the bottom layer of that pyramid has been updated about a year ago to sleeping 7 to 9 hours. It used to be nutrition was the base of our pyramid, and that sleep was just kind of another important factor. And from what I've learned in the recent past, I've moved that down as the absolute foundation of the pyramid, that if you're not getting 7 to 9 hours sleep a night, no matter what you're doing above that pyramid, you're kind of sabotaging your success. Maybe not greatly, but that's, in my opinion, the bottom of the pyramid. Then above that is nutrition, everything that you eat and drink. Above that is restoration, that's your physical care. Yoga, foam rolling, just recovering from workouts properly instead of beating yourself up every day. The conditioning is getting your heart rate up and moving. In there, pardon my French, but it says move your ass often. That's what we do here. Above that is getting stronger, and then play at the top. Okay, so in any of those areas on the pyramid, you can pick certain things that you want to get better at or focus on. And so that's what you could add into these I am committed to lines on the front of the Healthy Reset scorecard. And then every day of the week, in that those little cloudy things, you just put a check if you made it, or maybe an X, however you want to score it. Maybe you want to rate yourself. Was it 1, 2, or 3? That's up to you. But just simple check marks will be good, and you'll get to see how you're doing and hold yourself accountable because it's right there on that page. And then at the bottom, you can put your reward for the week, and then something by looking at what you've done during this week. Next week, what will you focus on being better at? Okay. Pretty simple. Any questions on that? Got to give me one. Brendan?
Why 7 to 9 hours?
Because that's what Matthew Walker, PhD, the leading sleep scientist in the world, says. Okay. And he says, and I'll get this quote wrong, but it's close. It's paraphrasing. He says that the number of people who can get along on less than 6 hours of sleep or less without any impairment, expressed as a percentage, rounded to the nearest whole number, is 0. 0. And he says that the people, and I fell into this category, he calls it machismo, that you think, I'm tough, I can get on 6 hours sleep. I can do it on 5.5. I'm just going to force myself to do it. And he's got a whole book and 20 years of studies saying, no. And it's pretty scary. In the back of that book, towards the end, talks about how dangerous it is in the medical profession because so many health professionals are not getting that sleep. Would you agree, Jill? Mm-hmm. And so the book's called Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker, PhD. It's fascinating. It's hard to read because it gets technical. He's got a podcast with Joe Rogan. It's about 2 hours long. It's the only podcast I listen to nonstop. Because on this one, Joe Rogan doesn't get into his normal, you think I go on tangents when I talk. He goes down like highways. He can be 3.5 hours on a podcast. It should be an hour. But this Matthew Walker podcast with Joe Rogan is just chock full of stuff that you've never known about the importance of sleep. And how they test and how they study and experiment with all these different animals, like worms, they poke them all night to keep them up. You got to read the book. All right.
Glad I'm not a worm.
What's that?
Glad I'm not a worm.
Yeah.
Can I just add on to your reset?
Yes.
It does not have to be health. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this. My personal goal is to read 10 minutes a day. And I know that sounds silly, but 10 minutes a day of something substantial. I'm not talking about my nothing book. I'm talking about something substantial. It's really easy to do the laundry instead or whatever. And so it doesn't have to be, I'm going to make it to the gym 5 days a week, or I'm going to be on this strict diet. It can be anything at all to help you form new habits.
Yes. Keep it simple, just so you can stick with it. And so these diet or nutrition plans, we'll talk about this at the end because you might not be interested in it. I want to get to the food prep. I think that's probably what more people have an interest in. But on this sheet, we've got a little bit of explanation of just general caloric restriction, the old Weight Watchers kind of plan. The zone diet, which is what Staci and I do, that's what we believe in. Paleo is about food quality. Whole 30 is a very, very strict form of paleo that's really meant to, it's not a lifestyle, it's just a 30-day nutritional reset, they call it. It's pretty valuable if you want, but it's very, very difficult. We've done it 3 times. Keto and low carb. Keto's a big buzzword these days. I think most people that I talk to when they say they're doing keto, they're really doing low carb. But it's okay, they're just trying to lose a little bit of weight. But there is a significant difference between the two. There's plant-based diets, vegan diets, intermittent fasting, which I think is one of the easiest things for you to do if you don't want to count macros and you don't want to really pay attention to the quality of the food, is you start to restrict the time that you eat, and there's some value in that. And then our approach, you can see what we do. All right, we'll get back to that, and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to talk about any or all of those meal or nutrition plans. What we're going to talk about now is the food prep. What Staci and I, what we do, and what we did for years is we spent about 3.5 or 4 hours every Sunday cooking a bunch of food for us for the week. Okay, we did it in bulk, and so we stored it. We kept it in bulk containers. Okay, instead of divvying up our meals like some people do, which I think is a tremendous amount of work, and it's very hard for me to understand. What do I want to eat on Thursday? I don't know. But if I have all our chicken and all our beef and all our side dishes in separate containers, then it makes it very quick and easy to pack a meal in the morning or the night before. But it does take a lot of time. That sheet I have, if anybody's interested in, you can just pass this around. This is an example of what we cook on a weekend in how many pounds of meat and how many pounds of this and that. What we do now, we've just gotten a little bit more efficient. Instead of, and we don't always have 3.5 or 4 hours in a row to do it, is we do it in pieces. Sometimes we do an hour and a half on a Friday night, and we do a little bit of prep. And we'll do a little bit on Saturdays, a little bit on Sunday. It's just, we spread it around. Or I might cook a whole bunch of meat and chicken on the grill, and that's my job. And she's working on side dishes and things during the other parts of the weekend. We don't always do it like a marathon anymore. And we still get it done, right? All right. So if that sheet is overwhelming you, saying, I can't spend that much time, but I want to have some prepared meals. And first of all, we'll back up. What's the importance of prepared meals is that you always have good food choices. Okay? I never scramble around wondering what I'm going to eat, because if I do, I'm going to make the same bad choices that most of you will do, is we just grab what's easy on the run. So we always have things to grab. And it doesn't mean I don't grab something on the run, but I don't have to. I have those food choices. So there's the value. If you're not good at cooking, you don't have that time, maybe you order all your meals online and you get your prepared foods delivered, but that's a very costly option, but it is an option. So what I have here is a couple of different locations I went to today, and I got some prepared meals just to give you an idea of what you might want to do. I went to my favorite, sure. Well, let's back up. I'll stay in my order. What I would recommend if you're going to make food at home, but you don't have that much time, is start with protein, because it is the most expensive piece of your meal that you're going to buy when you're out. Okay? So if you can cook up a couple of pounds of chicken or beef or whatever protein sources that you like and have those on hand, then you just fill in the side dishes. So let's say you've done that and you have a lot of protein. You could go, I went to Heinen's today, and I went to the salad bar, and I was a little careful. I made sure I went with the light stuff. You can make a salad bar container pretty expensive if you're not careful what you're dumping in there. They're smart about that shit. So this container costs $3. It's got spinach in it, and it's got romaine lettuce and other mixed greens and some other stuff. And so I could go and I could make 3 or 4 of those, and then bring them home and put them in my fridge. And then in the morning I wake up and it's like, well, I want chicken on it. And I'll just grab some chicken out of my container, throw it on, and I'm out the door. Okay? That chicken that I make at home probably costs me $1 per meal. Okay? If I eat 4, 5, or 6 ounces of chicken, it's still $1, plus my time, of course. So there's a $4 meal. Again, you can do that. You can buy 3 or 4 or 5 and just stick them in your fridge. Let's say you're a little bit hungrier. This one was a whopping $6. So I got a little bit. I got an orzo salad, which I love because I'm not afraid of carbs. I like orzo, and I got some Asian noodle thing, and I got some fresh fruit. And so I can take that, stick it in the fridge, and pull it out, put my protein source in it, and I'm good to go. So again, I'd have a meal for $7, and pretty filling. This one I got. Now let's say you want to go out and you don't want to make any food at home at all. This is my favorite. I probably get this 3 out of 4 Wednesdays a week. At Earth Fare, they have their Build Your Meals on sale. It's a special on Wednesdays for $6. Okay? And so you can pick any protein source that they have and 2 sides. So that is their Eye of Round, which on their counter price is like $14 a pound. They give you, I get 5 or 6 ounces of it. They're not too skimpy. They don't give you a ton, but it's enough. It's a good serving. And I got a side of orzo and I got a side of Brussels sprouts. That's $6. So you could go on a Wednesday and you could make 2 or 3 of those and take them home in your fridge. Again, you can make a couple. Not to leave Whole Foods out. Whole Foods, they have a lot of meals at their prepared counter. I'll warn you that if you go through their hot bar, who's done their hot bar at Whole Foods before? Isn't it easy to get to $15? I mean, it's like, whoa, it's crazy. So, and if that's okay, if you don't care, that's great. But if you're watching your pocketbook a little bit, go over to their deli counter where they have all those prepared foods for individual sale, and they'll have $8, $9, $10, and sometimes $12 combos depending on what the protein source is. So this is their Romano chicken. I got some kind of a cauliflower thing and a pepper and broccoli thing. This was $9. Now this, if you feel it, this is definitely one of those $12, $13 ones if I would have made that and went through on their scales. Okay, it's plenty of food. That is more than a meal for most people. Okay. So there's your $9 option. And then just to go back from home, I make a breakfast. Staci makes over easy eggs, 2 or 3 comp pairs for me every week. And I'll drop that in. I've got some roasted potatoes she made, some sausages we get from Costco, and some almonds. That's about a $2 meal. So that's just to give me an idea of what I can make at home. Okay. If you like that idea of get your own protein because it'll keep the cost down, and you'll go buy the sides, you can go and buy the protein pre-cooked in bulk or in larger packages, so you don't pay the $12 or $13 or $15 a pound that some of the places charge you for their meats and their chicken when they make it. For example, at Costco, they have these grilled chicken strips. They're frozen. I think when you buy these, there's 2 packs, and I think it costs like $7. I mean, this is almost, it's not a whole lot more expensive than buying chicken and then cooking it yourself. It's not the greatest tasting chicken. I mean, it's pretty bland. Excuse me. There's a little bit of sodium in it, so they have some chemicals because it's packaged, but it's not bad, and you can look at the label and you can make the decision yourself if that works. But it's an easy way to give yourself a pound and a half or 2 of chicken without having to cook it and not having to again spend $9 or $10 a pound at a store.
Whole 30 compliant.
Whole 30 compliant, all right. They also have these fully cooked chicken sausages at Costco. They're great grab-and-go stuff for breakfast. I think they're probably breaks down about 25 cents a piece. That's how I came up with that $2. I got $1 for the sausage in there and a little bit less than $1 for the eggs. Local farmed eggs. They also have these cool gluten-free, no antibiotic chicken nuggets. They're pretty healthy. They don't taste too bad, and they don't have a lot of crap in them. These are our, like, what we call backup food. Like when we're home, we're like, oh shit, we're out of food at the end of the week, and I don't want to go order anything crappy. I'll just go and I'll grab 8 of those, I'll microwave them, I'll make a really good mustardy mayonnaise sauce, and I'm good. It just gets me over that edge. It's a real cheap meal. Okay. Yeah, there's nothing sexy about it, but it's good, and it comes in handy. So when you start to buy, though, I just grabbed what was in our freezer. When you start to go to different stores, you're going to start to see there's a lot of options that you can buy, previously cooked protein sources that you can have on your shelf. Okay. A couple other things that I grabbed. We have, if you need a little bit of protein supplementation, I've been getting these Orgain plant-based protein shakes from Costco. They're fairly inexpensive. They last forever, and we sell them here if you ever want one on the run. I said earlier that we get a little bit tired of the food we eat because we make the same stuff. I mean, but you can only do so much with chicken and whatever. But I'm real good with making different sauces so that you can change the flavor of different things or make it less boring. And one of the things I could not live without is homemade mayonnaise. We make mayonnaise every week. These are from farm fresh eggs and olive oil and some seasoning. There's nothing bad in this at all. Olive oil is all monounsaturated fat. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good, healthy fat. And I can eat this by the spoonful. So it's a good source of fat for me, but I would never eat as much jarred mayonnaise as I would the mayonnaise I make, just because it's made with soybean oil and a bunch of crappy stuff. So it's okay in moderation, but I mean, I eat a lot of this. So mixing this with coconut aminos. If you haven't had coconut aminos, this is a kind of a soy sauce substitute. If you like a soy sauce, but you don't want all the sodium and whatever else might be in there, coconut aminos are awesome. A little bit pricey. It's like $7 for this bottle, but I don't use a ton of it. Trader Joe's has a coconut aminos that they've come out with recently. I think it's only $2.99. There's a little bit of sugar in it. There might be a gram per serving. So if you're hiding from sugar, that's not a good option, but it does save you a lot of money, and it actually tastes pretty good. There's something else in it that makes it taste different than this brand. Any questions so far? Oh, and another, I grabbed chicken salad was on sale at Earth Fair. This is $4 worth. That's at least a meal. She said she was hungry. She didn't bring enough food, so I grabbed this for her. So this is just one of those things that'll take the edge off before you get home.
Do you make the eggs on Sunday for the whole week? You do? Okay.
We used to make...
I'm going to talk about a little bit about what we do and what we did when we started and what we do now, because they're two very different things, but yes.
Yeah. We used to make muffins every week, and she'd put them in muffin tins, and and I would get the job of cleaning the tin, which is the worst thing in the world. Even though you buy the really good pans, they still suck. Then she started making them in now we started doing just a big egg scramble, which was easy. Now she just makes me over easy eggs in a pan, and believe it or not, as long as you don't overcook them, they still stay gooey 3 days later.
I don't like gooey eggs.
I like gooey eggs. I know half you people are going, ooh.
Yeah.
So if you like gooey eggs, you can have them 3 days later in your breakfast if you made those eggs early.
You refrigerate them and then you microwave them?
Yeah, I know, you know what, I eat so much food cold, but yes, I could microwave it. But when you own a gym, you learn to we eat on the run. Yeah. One of the items, and I said this to one of the classes the other day, one of my items is going to be more mindful about my eating. Eating slowly, eating sitting down like normal people instead of standing in a counter like this and wolfing it down. I kind of open up my mouth and I just shove it in. I know I eat very healthy food, but I don't have good eating habits when it comes to that. Chewing, how many times? 20? Somebody said 20 times per, so yeah, I just shovel my food down. So that's going to be one of my items for the reset. Okay. So there you have it in a quick nutshell, some ideas on how you can food prep. Any questions? Yes.
When you do the zone, you have snacks built in. What are some of your go-to snacks?
Almonds.
Celery and almond.
Yeah, a little bit of beef jerky and
if you're not dairy, if dairy's not an issue for you, or Greek yogurt, and that will have some protein and have a fat carb to it, so maybe a half an apple. I have
Cottage cheese is usually good too, right?
yeah, cottage cheese, and if you're that will have a little bit of protein and carb, and then I would sprinkle some almonds on it, or put it on a tomato. You know, like the slices of tomato for cottage cheese is good. It depends if dairy's not an issue for you, it's a little bit easier, but.
Staci's going to talk a little bit about the zone, but just to give a quick overview, the whole thing about the zone is to start balancing the calories from your macronutrients, I'm sorry, at every meal. So carbohydrate, fat, and protein have a balanced amount, and there's a specific formula in the book, and it can be very you can be very specific about it, but just the general idea is balancing those three, because most people don't eat balanced macronutrients at every meal. And so the idea there is to keep the diet as a non-inflammatory diet, and also to keep your hormones from the hormonal response from your eating at a minimum. And so things aren't getting spiked. And so when Tom asked about snacks, just eating, if I went and just ate one, like almonds kind of just get me through everything, because I don't snack a lot, but that wouldn't be a zone proportion, it would just be fat. Okay, so I might have a piece of beef jerky with it, and I don't really worry about putting the carbohydrate in those snacks, and it might be. So almonds are real easy.
Costco now has, I've seen it, I stay away from dairy, but they have like salami and cheese, like little packages. I haven't read it to see if it's actually a snack size, but it probably is. And then if you wanted to add some almonds to that. And then Aldi's has, again, not your cleanest protein source, but they have a salami that we like, and they're little rounds, and so if you're thinking about like 3 of those is about an ounce, so 3 of those, and you know, some either half an apple or celery and carrots. I do a lot of celery and carrots. Cucumbers are my thing. And then if I do that, there's a lot of fat in the salami, so I don't add more fat. But that's me.
So I want to just read two things off of this page with the different diets, and then I'm going to turn it over to Stace just to give you an idea of what we do so that if you have questions before you leave, you know who you might want to ask. But my approach is I eat when I'm hungry. Okay, I don't count calories. I don't pay attention to time windows. I just eat when I'm hungry because my hormones work properly so that when I'm hungry, I feel it, and when I'm not, when I'm full, I feel it. And there's a lot of issues with people's hormonal responses to their diets where they don't know when they're full. And it's primarily from insulin levels being elevated. Your brain doesn't see leptin that's telling your brain that you're full. I don't want to get too much technical on that, but if you're hungry all the time and you eat a lot, it may be because you're out of balance with your macronutrients. And the zone diet is what's designed to bring that into check. So I eat when I'm hungry, zone proportions at every meal. I do a very high-fat diet. Half of my calories come from fat, about 20% from carbohydrates, and about 30% from protein. I don't track it, but every year I do about 3 days with my Fitness Pal, and I put in what I eat, and it seems it's like magic. It comes up with the same numbers within a couple percent. It's just the way I've learned to eat. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong for you. That's just what I do. So I limit processed foods. I keep it to a minimum. I will eat breads and pasta. I'm not afraid of things with glucose. I stay away from any refined sugar. No refined or processed sugar. And we do drink. I drink distilled spirits with zero carbohydrate, no sweeteners as a mix. Just straight distilled spirits. There's no carbohydrates. There's no insulin spike. As long as you don't drink too much of it, then it's not a weight issue for me anyway. I'm glad to hear that. Staci, and then for women on the other hand, alcohol, they have a different way of, it affects their ability to lose weight different than men, from what I read. Staci's approach, she does intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. She's got about a 14-hour window of fasting every day. She's fairly strict on paleo, more strict than I am. She eats in zone proportions. She's more, this is a guess, I did this today before she got home, about 40% protein, about 20% carb, and about 40% fat. She's probably going to tell me she's lower than that on carb, but it's basically that. She limits processed foods and breads and pastas. She keeps that all to a bare minimum. So just maybe picking something off my plate when I have something more than I should. She evens me out. No refined processed sugar. She drinks wine and distilled spirits, no sugar in any mixes. Okay. That's how we do it. Okay. All right. Questions about that? Any questions about what I just said and what we do?
Handle intermittent fasting and working out.
So everybody's different. I personally don't like to have anything in my system when I work out. So that is kind of why I started working out in the mornings, because now I can work out and then I eat around 11 or 12. If I have to work out at 4 or 4:30,
I'm going to give you this.
now I'm going to be nervous.
Right there.
Feel all official here. If I'm working out in the afternoon, I have to be careful because I won't eat after 11 or 12. So you just have to decide, like, do you like to eat, can you work out with a full stomach is right. So I switched to a morning workout because of it. And I'm not a morning person. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a morning person. Not that I mind being here, but it's not my cup of tea to get up at that hour. So you just have to be mindful of that. And so if you're going to be an afternoon worker out, or maybe your window's going to be a little bit different. So if you're working, and I could work with you to help you figure those times out. But yeah, I might start seeing you in the mornings.
There are a lot of people that like to work out in a fasted state, and then other people that can't do it. Everybody's different, so you figure out what's good for you. Intermittent fasting is said if you're a really high intensity athlete, it's not really an ideal thing for you. But for most people, if you're fat adaptive, when you get up in the morning, you haven't eaten, and you're in that fasted state, you have plenty of stored fat on our bodies, right? We don't have that much stored glucose in our bodies, so that's what's depleted when you wake up. But if you are fat adaptive, and you don't have too high of intensity workouts, you can get through it.
I don't have to worry about that. Really good.
She improves all day long.
All right, guys. So, real quick too, with the reset. Last year we had people who wanted to buy into it. It was $30. We designed a shirt, and then we had prizes that will go along with that. You do not have to do that to be part of the reset. That was just some people like that money challenge, and they want to be bought in, and they want a new t-shirt. I'm really good at designing them. So that's something to think about too if you want that part of the challenge. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be paid in to be part of this and for us to help you.
For our members, it's for non-members. You don't have to be a member here. We're going to have weekly accountability calls, and anyone can log on and participate in that. So it will cost you $0 if that's what you choose. But it's going to be a cool shirt.
Always.
Haven't made it yet, but it'll be fun.
So one of the things I'd like to tell you too is like making habits with a habit. So if you don't take fish oil or supplements aren't your thing, but you get up every morning and you brush your teeth, and maybe say you now want to start taking fish oil, that would be a good time. You already have a habit of brushing your teeth. So doing something with another habit is a good way to make a habit. So that just throwing that out there as far as how to make a good habit. I'm not as succinct as Bill in my stuff. So I'm going to talk about the zone, and the reason that Bill and I like the zone is you already heard our numbers are not the 40, 30, 30, but that's learning the zone is the basis of all these macros and all the ketos and paleo not so much, but all the different diets and learning to what your portions are. The zone is it. Okay, so if you go on Weight Watchers, it's tried and true. I know it's changed a lot over the years, but it used to be that you can go and you could buy frozen food and have 3 meals a day and your brownie at night, and you were going to lose weight, and that's great. But did you learn anything? I mean, I learned that I need 2 lunches because the spaghetti's not big enough for me, right? So I haven't really learned anything. So the zone teaches you how can you have your wine, how can you have your pasta. Nobody's telling you not to. It's learning your portions. And then once you understand that, and that's why we start everybody at the 40, 30, 30, and once you understand that, then you can play with it. I keep my carbohydrates, and probably in some people's minds, probably more keto. I keep them to 20 grams or less a day. That's pretty low. It's not hard to get to 20 grams of carbs a day, but that's what works best for my body. So my breakfast, not like Bill's, looks a little bit more like celery and carrots and 1 egg and 2 egg whites and an avocado. Okay, I do the eggs the same way. Again, and I have recipes here. I used to, like Bill said, I used to make the cupcakes and and then it's like, oh God, this is a pain in the neck. I better put it in a baking sheet and I can cut them up and all right. And now I got that thing, let's just have scrambled eggs. You're good with scrambled eggs? I'll throw some onions in there and peppers in there and we'll divide that up. And now I just make the eggs and that's it. So over time, I've taken the time in my kitchen away and I've made it a little bit more simpler on all my things. I also use, these are my containers. If anybody likes these containers, I can order them. They're not cheap, but they're not crazy expensive, but it's nice because they're divided. So I put my protein on one side and then my carbs on the other. And also for me, when I'm filling this up, half carrot and half celery. I mean, I know what grams those are, but I also know that it fits, and so it's going to fit in there. And I pick weekly different vegetables. So this week we had sauteed cabbage and Brussels sprouts. Imagine how lovely our house is this week. Just kidding. We do a lot of, I do a cauliflower rice, and so I make it in bulk so that we can split it. Now for me, I know my bad habits. You got to know your bad habits so that you can help break them. But one of mine is that when I'm making my lunch, it's all good, it's all healthy, and I'm eating as I'm going, and I have my 3 ounces here and whatever, and now I've overeaten. So for me, I need to make those meals ahead of time, so I do 2 or 3 days at a time. So I can do like a Monday and Tuesday and have my meals all planned out and know like, okay, it might not be exactly what I wanted, but it's good enough. And then on a Tuesday night, when I'm not hungry, I make my next couple days. And so that works for me God forbid he touches them because they are weighed and they are measured. He doesn't have to watch like I do.
I
right?
don't touch it.
I can touch his, he
Already
can't.
portioned out.
Yeah.
They're not fair game.
So I do weigh and measure. I can look at something and tell you what 3 ounces look like. I also, not here today, but we can, those of you who are interested in learning, you don't want to weigh and measure. You want to start using your hand. That's good. I can teach you how to use your hand as your portion control. That's a really easy way, but I do still use my scale just to make sure I'm within my guidelines. And like I said, I watch my carb intake, and for me, I'm okay to go a little heavier on my fats because that's also what keeps me full. I also, because I intermittent fast, my lunch, some of you might look at my lunch and go, holy cow, that girl can eat. But that's my big meal. I have my eggs and vegetables, a huge meal, and then something smaller later in the day. And that's it. And I'm okay with that. So you have to play with it. But so the zone, learning the zone is just the key to all of these other diets that you hear about, the macros. People are doing macros. What is macros? It's the macronutrients, protein, carb, and fat that you learn in the zone, and it's just a different fancy word for it. And so learning what your proper portions, that sheet that I gave you, all our members should know and love this because I live by it. But this in here helps you with your portions. So if you say, I'm not giving up pasta, that's cool. 3/4 of a cup, I happen to know that number. 3/4 of a cup, that's your serving, and that's not wine, that's not bread, that's your pasta. That's it.
When I did the orzo, pretty good.
Uh-huh.
These are all good portions. I didn't mean to. It's ingrained into my.
So if we're going out for an Italian dinner, say, well, we already established I'm not giving up my wine, and perhaps not even the bread. So I would order a big salad, maybe a side of meatballs, and then I would have my bread and I would have my wine, and there's my carbs, and I've left off something, and there's really no taste to the pasta. Yes, it's fun to twirl, but like that's an easy thing to do. So those are things that I've learned to do over the years to make sure I'm getting those carbs out of my life. But if you want them, you can have them. Just certain ones are more in moderation. You're not going to overeat your lettuce. You're not going to overeat your cauliflower, your carrots, all those kinds of things. So have at it. If you don't want to weigh and measure your carrots, like, okay, you're all right. So that's why we believe in the zone, because once you've hit the zone, then you can go off any way you want. For me, like I said, I limit the carbs, and so theoretically I'm probably more keto. If I didn't have alcohol, I guess, I would be considered keto. I also caution you on the different diets, because keto, there's a thing that I call dirty keto, and now you're eating cream cheese and whatever else that they're telling you to use as fat, and in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I don't think that that's all necessarily healthy. So I would challenge you for your 2020, maybe make your reset part of, you're going to read labels. Start reading your labels, like Hellmann's, love Hellmann's. Obviously we've established we eat a fair amount of mayonnaise, but Hellmann's is not mayonnaise. It's canola oil, and it's what? Soybean oil. The ingredient list is this big.
Bottom of the barrel.
So start reading your labels. If nothing else, start being aware of what are you putting into your system and going into just a little bit more healthy. For me, it's enough to say, oh God, I don't know what that is, or yuck, or there's a lot of sugar in here, or just anything like that. Just if there's something on that label that's going to make you say, I guess maybe I really shouldn't eat this, maybe you shouldn't, right? Or if it's going to last forever without going bad, like maybe you shouldn't. So I believe in having just more real food, whole foods, but that's a good challenge, is just to start reading your labels. Knowing all the secret sugars that are out there is another good, maybe something that you might want to do as your challenge. Rather than saying, I'm going to be strict in this and this and that, like just start being aware, and it happens naturally. I don't know if any of you have noticed a lot of the restaurants now have their calorie intake on it. Does anybody notice that? Has it stopped anybody from eating something? Sure as hell stopped me. Yeah, I mean, I see something for 1,200 calories, and I'm like, Jesus, that's all day. I can't, So I make a better choice. So I guess it's good that Courtney's going, nope, I don't care. For me, it's made a difference. Or if I'm doing something like that, say I'm having a burger, I'll leave the bun off or half of the bun off. So you can start making changes like those too. It doesn't have to be drastic. Nothing has to be crazy. And then all of those other things start coming into play. And if you're eating well, you might want to start exercising more. Or if you're exercising more, you might want to be starting to eat better. All of those things just kind of yo-yo into each other. Any questions on that?
So if you want my take on the most important thing, if you don't know what to get out of your diet and you're trying to be healthier, if you eat a decent amount of refined sugar, cut it out. It is poison. There is nothing worse for you than sugar, refined sugar. Okay. I'm a guy who eats bread, I eat pasta, that's different. That's glucose only. But refined sugars is half glucose and half fructose. And when you eat too much of that, there's all kinds of studies lately, just in the last 8 or 10 years, that they've realized that the fructose is the bad guy, especially when you have too much of it, and it's everywhere.
I'm going to throw Joe under the table. So last year, Joe, for 2020, you gave up sugar, right? That was it. And how much did you lose?
About 30 pounds.
Yeah.
How much?
About 30 pounds.
Come on over here. I don't know if this new microphone that I bought. Come on, just say that one more time, right over there. You gave up sugar and you lost.
About 30
That
pounds.
was all you did.
That, and then I did a little bit of intermittent fasting.
But so nothing crazy.
That, and then just, watching.
When
what I
you
was eating.
when you cut those refined sugars down and eliminate them from your system, your body is going to start working like it's supposed to. That's one of the things that messes it up. It's from elevated insulin levels, insulin resistance. Your cells are not resistant to that insulin. You have to keep your sugar levels keep going up.
So I personally do more of a paleo zone, so it's more of a natural, and then I watch the portions, obviously, because I can overeat very easily.
So I have a question. How do you decide how much you eat, how much you snack? Because I feel like I eat and snack, like I can overeat, and obviously I go, like Bill, one thing you said is like 3 meals. I can eat that for dinner. Like that's no joke.
So we can help you. If you're eating the right foods, you should not be hungry.
Yeah, I'm always hungry. But I mean, I do eat relatively healthy most times.
You might need to add more fat into your system because you do work out and you're not going to gain weight. Your body's just going to become, it'll help you keep fat. It'll help keep you full.
I just want to, yeah.
You need more fat to keep you full. Avocados. No.
That's a lot.
Do you have much fat in your diet?
I mean, I eat like sometimes. I'll do like 3 hard-boiled eggs for breakfast, along with peppers and fruit, and that keeps me full for like 2 hours, and then I'm hungry again.
So you just maybe need to eat more. We'll work with you.
3 eggs. I mean, that's a half a pepper and like a big old cup of fruit, and I'm hungry. And then.
So I would add fat to that. Add
Wouldn't the eggs be fat?
Well, there is some, but the avocado, maybe like a half an avocado.
Macadamia nuts? They're
Okay.
expensive, but you only eat a couple of them. That's the
That's like giving me
that's the
almonds
best.
and say, please eat 3.
That's the best.
Can't do that.
Macadamia nuts are like an appetite suppressant for me.
Okay.
I don't know why, different than almonds, and like not cashews, because you got to keep cashews away from me. I could eat them. Yeah. Why I don't know, but about 8 years ago, I was just telling somebody the other day. It was back when we were in Lakewood, so that's how I know it was more than 7 years ago. I wanted to put on a little bit of weight. I had I'd gotten a little bit too lean, and so I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat a couple of macadamia nuts, 2 or 3 every meal, and they're very rich in calories. It doesn't take much, and so I started eating macadamia nuts, and next thing you know, I lost 5 pounds. I wasn't trying.
And you know what I said?
Yeah, I got it. And so.
Yeah, I did.
And at that time, I didn't have as high a fat diet as I do now, and it just made me not be hungry, and it was totally. It's like the Post-it notes at 3M. When they were making those, they were trying to make some like super adhesive that wouldn't, that could live up to anything on the moon or something, and it didn't work, and it peeled off. That was an accidental discovery. Macadamia nuts were an accidental discovery for me, as far as appetite suppressant. So you might want to try it.
Okay.
And also in here, and again, we're doing this really quick, but there's some meal and snack ideas. Tom, like the 2 blocks in here might be a good snack for you. So there's examples here of how to do it. Again, we're not like, this is 101. It will take more to teach you the actual zone, and we're here for that. But these are, if you do these, before you leave, to ask me which size blocks you should be, but then if you pick and choose these, just try it, and it's going to teach you how to do meals.
Yeah, so we'll stay around for any questions. Anybody have any questions for the group?
Specific. We are also, for CrossFit Cleveland, I don't think it has to be, HelloFresh is coming in. So if you do not know how to cook, HelloFresh is coming in on the 11th of January. They're coming here. I don't really know if they're bringing samples or not, but they're coming in and saying like, hey, this is a food delivery service. We never do anything before we try it. The food was awesome. Portions not so much. If you decide to, no.
The 4 meals were really good.
The food was good. The portions for the fat and protein were good. If you ate the pastas and the rices that they told you to, you will be overeating. This is overeating. This is 2 meals for me. All right, so you have to be aware at only $9. Now I'm at $4.50. Look at that. How's that for math? So you have to be aware of some of these things that are going on. I had another couple poignant. So HelloFresh is coming in. So if you don't know how to cook and you want to learn how to cook, HelloFresh is really good. It gives you, I think there's 5 steps, and it tells you exactly what to do. The food is good. It's a little pricey. There's also a company called Factor 75. Those of you remember Paleo to Me? Yes. So it's similar to Paleo to Me, except it's called Factor 75. We'll be announcing more of that. You can order through our, I don't know exactly how it's going to work. It doesn't matter, but
we're trying some of the newer plans out there just to give you guys
some idea.
But we like them. It's a little expensive. It's a subscription service, so that every week they're going to ship you the same number of meals. They do allow you to go on by like Wednesday at a certain time, and you can cancel your meal, so you can cancel it that next week. But they want to be shipping you every time. It's about $15 a meal.
So with those, they're very good. It's prepared food, so it's a really good option for somebody who says, you know what, this is way too much for me. I'm willing to spend a little bit extra. I don't want to go to Whole Foods and figure that out. These are good. They were good. I actually did a test. I was starving. I looked at the little meal and went, that's not going to work for me. It was 5 hours before I was hungry again. It was high fat. What I can't impart enough on you is if you are doing something like keto, it has to be your lifestyle. Like to go keto for a week and off, that's not going to be good for your body. If you have to make it a lifestyle, and otherwise it could go the other way. And so some of those meals are a heavy keto, and then you just got to be careful. And if you're going to go those ways, we're here to help you to make good decisions so that you're not bouncing between your lifestyle that you're choosing. Again, that's why zone and paleo work for me, because I can bounce around a little bit. If we go out to dinner and I have some French fries and I've overeaten my carbs, it's not quite the end of the world.
Very seriously, who originated the zone diet, he wrote the book. His comment is that you can get your body back into a hormonal balance in 1 meal. So if you do have a crazy lunch, you eat properly the next time, and you're back.
I don't know if I have anything else.
Anything else?
Any questions?
Thanks for coming. We'll be around if you've got questions. Otherwise, we'll have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope that was helpful.
2020 reset. Show of hands.
Who's doing 20 reset?
In some fashion.
The reset? In some fashion.
You mean the registration?
You don't have to register, just that you're doing it. Yeah. Yeah. I hope this was helpful.
100 Days of Suck doesn't start till February, so January you can do the rest.
No wonder.
See y'all.
Bye. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I did keto for a month and a half as part of my.
Thanks, Jay. Was that helpful for you? Good. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you want to be part of the 2020 reset, just let us know. Are you on Facebook? Yeah. So we'll have a private Facebook group. And again, if you want to buy in, fine. If you just want to be part of it, so you're being held accountable, you're seeing the posts, just let me know.
Yeah.
And we'll put you in that group.
Sounds good.
Good.
Great,
Nice to
thanks.
see
Good
you.
to see you too.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
The macro.